Today's episode is brought to you by In My Bag Apparel and Customs. In My Bag is a brand that collaborates with talented artists from across the country to bring some unique and exclusive concepts to life at a reasonable price. For $15 off your first purchase, visit whatnot.com/invite/in_my_bag 2023. That's whatnot.com/invite/in_my_bag 2023 for $15 off your first purchase. And make sure to check them out on Instagram as well at @in_my_bag 2023. Did you know the Spice Girls were originally supposed to be called Touch?
I did not.
Yeah, man. Like, I like going through all these little weird places that give like 100 random weird facts or things that'll make you fun at parties or just random things.
Yeah.
And I scroll through them every once in a while. I didn't know that. There's apparently Mel C said like we felt like we had to fit into the mold of what music was at the time. So they went with the word touch and like this doesn't hit the same. So we gotta do something different. So the Spice Girls were invented apparently.
Huh. I wonder how that came about. That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. Right now I gotta go deeper down that rabbit hole.
Right.
But now we are here, April 15th, Tuesday. Happy tax day, I guess. But more importantly, happy birthday to my mom. She just turned 70 today. So I gotta give my flowers to moms out there. If your mom's still with you, you gotta tell her that you love her, man. I talk to my mom like once or twice a week. You gotta keep them special in your life, man. I'm really lucky to still have mine. And
likewise.
Yeah. I love her to death, man. She's one special woman. So yeah, happy birthday to my mom out there. So I know she's not watching or listening, but it don't really matter. Gotta give her the flowers regardless.
Put it out there in the ether for sure.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. With me today, I got the one, the only Evan Thunder Bradfield. Evan, how you doing, man? It's the first time we've been able to like link up for real. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm excited. I'm glad we finally got to line this up, man. I'm excited to actually be with you in the chat instead of just typing along.
No, I appreciate that, man. So I was actually going to ask you. I have a couple questions. I want you are going to have to filibuster for me because this is going to be self-deprecating where I put all these. I got to spread all the love to the links. So I'm gonna let you filibuster. But one, how'd you get the nickname Thunder? Because you've been on the Mac Truck Pod a lot. Shout out to our girl Matt Brooks doing her thing in Iowa. But so how'd you get the name Thunder? And what's it like being on live radio with her, man? That's gotta be crazy.
It was a joke a long time ago that I kind of just kept playing with. So like I used to tell a lot of people, and it's really an homage to Daryl Dawkins, you know what I mean, to Chocolate Thunder.
Chocolate Thunder, yeah, okay.
But I used to say that was my nickname to put myself through college. And so
you were using NIL in all the wrong ways, but for all the right reasons.
Exactly. So that kind of just rolled over into a bartender nickname. And then I even had like we had this really dope young artist when I was bartending back in the day that drew up like this placard of me as a superhero as Chocolate Thunder. And that just kind of stuck as the moniker. And it's been with me ever since, really.
Yo, that's crazy because like I never had anything like that. The thing for me is like I had to chop it up with P. Scott Page, in the podcast, and like that was just what people called me. When I DJ'd, that's just what people called me was P. Scott. So it just kind of since I was like 16, it's just kind of followed me, and I'll be 41 in a few weeks, and that name just cannot escape me. But Chocolate Thunder is way more dope than P. Scott. Like
yeah, but it was never mine though. It was a fun thing that just kind of just stuck. And then people be like, oh, there go Chocolate Thunder right there, and it just blew up into this thing. Right?
But see, a lot of these young kids don't know that though. So you're like, no, that was my. You could have played off and like, no, that was me. That's my original moniker.
Easily, but I couldn't in my right mind do that. So shout out and RIP to Daryl Dawkins as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's the right way to do things.
I don't know the last time I actually told why that nickname happened. So that's going to be some news to some people. Like, oh, they have no idea. And they might just find out that I didn't put myself through college that way.
Your scholarship was written off of Daryl Dawkins.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of not finishing jokes. I just let them linger on people. And sometimes I just forget to tell them what happened. So there's some people that could think that I for real put myself through school. In those night lights as Chocolate Thunder.
Hey man, man's got to have a code, and you sometimes you got to do what you got to do, man.
Exactly, you got to eat.
Yeah, I mean, we've all told a white lie one way or another to benefit ourselves through life. But Yeah, so this whole thing with Mac, how is that like being on live radio, man? That's gotta be
I,
that
I don't know how many times they've had to censor me. I've been trying to be pretty good about it. And again, like as a bartender, I've always had to, put on that customer service voice and do things like that. So like it's not extremely difficult, but when I get to talking sports and like we get passionate, we get into the conversation and words are just flying. But other than that, it's not too much different than how we run our show or how I've seen you run yours. It's not too hard to not just censor yourself for the most part. So it hasn't been bad. It's a fun little dynamic. It's weird when people can't see you. I never really think about it.
I've always been more comfortable when people can't see me.
Agreed.
But it not even from the censorship standpoint, but it's like when you know that you're on live radio waves, like, do you still get nervous with that? Because, dude, when I come live here, I am nervous every single time before I press the record button.
No, and what's crazy is like I used to get nervous before all like football and basketball games, and like before I used to perform on stage and stuff like that. Not as Chocolate Thunder, but like I did music. But like those things always used to make me really nervous. But like even with my show, with being on her show, and like the other couple ones that I've done, this has never really bothered me. It's just I can just get on and talk that mess all day. Really, it doesn't. I don't know. It's something about like, what are you gonna do anyway? Like, you don't like what I'm saying? Type some stuff about it, whatever. It doesn't. I don't know. It's never really bothered me.
I've always appreciated, man. I appreciate about people who live that life because it's weird because I don't really care what you think about me necessarily because like you're gonna say what you're gonna say anyways. But am I conducting myself the way that you want me to be perceived as well? And like that's the battle that I constantly go through. And I'm like, well, I'm not catering to the right crowd. And like I overthink things way too much. And I wish I was just in that. You don't like it? Tough nuggies, get to walking. But
And
like
see, and
there's
I
part of
think
me that comes
that's a
back to it.
way my brother and I like we've always had to carry ourselves a certain way and know how we're representing ourselves and our family. But in this type of thing, and our biggest thing is like we're not necessarily going to cater to anybody. Like this is the conversations we were having amongst ourselves anyway, how we used to have our back and forth and what our banter is. So like that's kind of what makes our show is it being just us being us. If you get down with us, get down with us. If not, there's plenty of other things for you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
everybody's doing this. You can find a show about anything. If this ain't it, find another one. But we feel that you will enjoy the Bradfield brothers as them.
exactly. And I appreciate that because I mean, again, I'm too much in my own head about these types of things, and the fact that you can just freely just do what you want to do, I envy that about you. Where can people find you, your show, your line, all that good stuff, um, as well? Sorry, I caught you. I was a bad server. Like you were eating your meal,
Oh,
and I came and asked you how your food was, and you were taking a sip. That was me being a bad host.
that's why how many meals and drinks I've had standing up and running throughout the years. That's nothing. We keep it moving. It's fine. Like I'll get my drink in when I can. I ain't worried about it. Well, you can find Recognized Game. It's presented by Jim Mint 10 Sports on YouTube, Spotify, as well as more recently, we've been going live on TikTok on Sunday nights. Yep, we did went live yesterday instead. My brother wasn't feeling too well, but typically live on TikTok around 1 a.m. Eastern. You can find the brand on Instagram in my underscore bag 2023, as well as on Facebook at in my bag apparel. You have the whatnot link in the promo before. We also have our website up and running now. It's inmybag.bigcartel.com. And there you can find all of the in my bag gear, the Mamba Combat stuff, just like the one you have on. We have our Mlada Koza, which is young goat in Slovenian. Our Luka
Oh, that's
Doncic
a
based
Luca joint.
character. Yeah, that's the Luger joint coming very, very soon. I'm hoping to have a sample this week, as well as Fever Hawk, which will be our first lady line, which will feature a Caitlin Clark-esque character.
Yeah, I saw you sent me the email or the Facebook link for that, and I put it out, and those are going to be hard.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. And then we got, man, we do like the line of hip hop heroes. We did the Method Man and Redman as Deadpool and Wolverine, and the Andre 3000 as Doctor Strange joints. The next one coming is a Busta Rhymes Venom mashup that I'm super excited
Oh,
about.
that's gonna be dope.
It's gonna go crazy. And then the other one we got, I got the Juice one on right here, where we recreated a movie poster from Juice. We're gonna do the same thing with Set It Off. but we're gonna use Meg The Stallion, SZA, her, and Doechii, and do that classic rooftop scene from Set It Off. So
Oh,
we got we're gonna get that one rolling soon too.
that's gonna be nice.
I'm hyped, man. I'm excited about all of these. I already got the next Mamba Combat on the way too. It's gonna be the Battle of the Legends. Do an MJ Kobe, and this will be both of them on one shirt instead of just the one player per shirt. So that was gonna be
Okay.
cool too. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I mean, what you gotta do too is you gotta get one because I feel like people who support LeBron are ones who are just they catching a lot of strays. I want you to do one with Iverson crossing over MJ when Iverson was a rookie with him
I like
reaching.
that one.
I think that'd be a legit concept just to put Jordan stands in their place for a second because they're just as annoying as the Braun stands, man. They are both
100%.
getting
And like as a person that lived through the
both
meat of
eras.
all of those eras, I'm not choosing. One, I'm probably a bigger Kobe fan than either, but why can't two people be great?
No, we can't do that nowadays.
Is
Sports
that
debate television has ruined everything.
that's my problem? That's why it's not. That's. I think they can both be great.
I mean, I like to think so as well, and that's what the Playbook podcast was even birthed is because everyone says they want that they're tired of debate television, but that's all that they still go to, whether it be politics or whether it be sports. Like you still just want to debate and yell at each other. I'm trying to give you
Exactly.
something that is supposed to be nuanced, and you're like, nah, we still just want to yell at each other about Jordan. We want to post about Jordan and Braun 9,642 times a day.
That it bothers me. And like I got Steph, Bron, and Kobe all already done with the brand. So like I'm not. I love hoop, and that's all of it. Like just hoop. There's some players I don't like, but I'm not on those one or the other trains by any means.
Yeah, like actively playing defense against somebody else's legacy and or just their happiness has always been wild to me
Yeah, and I know we're gonna talk a little bit about it. That's why the Isaiah Thomas thing is kind of wild to me. Like
because he was
can't
never
find
that
nothing
dude.
else. You can't find nothing else to talk about. Like
Right. And we will get to that. Now we actually that was a long 12-minute introduction and I don't mind it at all, but I told you I was going to take your time for like an hour
we're cool.
and we good, but still. So I did, man. I was extremely upset and hurt about my push to get Muggsy Bogues into the Hall of Fame. Now, again, this is not my take because there are certain players that don't cross my mind very often, and Muggsy Bogues is one of them, right? Like he's not an everyday fixture in my timeline and everything like that. But I was listening to The Right Time with Bomani Jones, and I think it was him and Tom Habistro, and they were saying like, look, because the NBA is different than the NFL. Like the NFL, they care about your stats, they care about your championships, and move on. But the NBA, like they talk about what you did in high school, college, overseas, your overall contribution to the game of basketball. So I was met with complete resistance from everybody on the live the other day. And I was like, well, can we just talk about it, man? He was at a 14-year career, average a double-double, which seems, again, by NBA metrics, that's not a high standard, but at 5'3", was in Space Jam. The movement of the Charlotte Hornets starter jackets and everything, I was like, man, we need to find a place for him. Is he a Hall of Fame player just by metrics and analytics and stats? No. But impact on the game, all three of them, Mourning, LJ, and Muggsy, I feel like they should be in the Hall for what they represent for the 90s culture as a whole.
So did they put Run TMC went in the Hall of Fame as a crew, right? Did they go in as a crew?
I
It's
think
like
so.
Run
Yeah. Tim
like
Hardaway and Chris Mullen. And who am I missing?
Mitch Richmond.
Mitch Richmond. That's right. Yeah, I
Like
think that they put him in there, and they didn't win
like
Jack together.
but if Run TMC is in the Hall of Fame, then I feel like I agree with that. Zoe, even if you want to put Kendall Gill with those guys, but with Muggsy Bogues and Grandma Mob, man, like I would definitely put that crew into the Hall because it was those Hornet starter jackets was a hot item, and
Yo,
I love Muggsy Bogues.
you could not even be a basketball fan, but you couldn't name like of all of the friends that you had. I bet you every one of them had that damn starter jacket though.
It was either that or the Bulls one.
That
And
went hard.
and growing up in Colorado, there was a lot of Raider ones too, and that so, but
That's true.
but
When
those
you
ones
said
were for real hot.
when you said Kendall Gill, it reminded me because I was scrolling through my timeline yesterday, and they went like on this day X number of years ago, Kendall Gill making this bonkers shot that hit the top of the backboard that went in. And I don't know if you felt this way. The first time I was introduced to Kendall Gill, because I watched a lot of basketball, wasn't it was because of basketball, obviously, but I saw him on Sports Center. I'm like, why they got this dude in a boy band on here? I thought he was in like a Boys to Men or something. I'm
That's Curl Kendall, man.
Yo, I thought for sure that he was in a boy band. I was like, what are they doing with this dude on Sports Center? But I was like, oh, Kendall Gill can hoop. Okay, I get you. Because he plays for New Jersey. And then that's the first place that my mind went.
No, but like my first interaction with Kendall Gill was like, I was, even from a young age, I deep dove into the NBA. Like there was probably a point in the 90s where I could tell you every player on every roster in the NBA, like every single one. So like even the guys like Kendall Gill, I knew who Del Curry was. Even those Seattle teams with Sean Kemp and Gary Payton, like that was my childhood. Just coming up like in the whole 90s, like young Shaq, all of that. So like you think of Detlef Shrimp with the military cut, all of those guys. I knew all the
Colonel Guile from Street
I knew
Fighter.
all those, yeah. I knew Olden Polynice, you know what I mean, and Popeye Jones, all those guys. So
NBA Live 97. So that unlocks a core memory with me because I remember like NBA Live 97 was one of the first games that had like the audio and the commentary.
Yeah.
I remember playing against the Jazz when they had Greg Ostertag.
Yeah.
And so at that point in time, I was like 13 and my younger sister was like 9. And she goes, did they say Greg Ostrich Head? And that will never not live rent free in my mind.
Yeah, with Ostertag and Olden Polynice, I don't know if you ever saw it, but one of my like favorite movies as a kid was Eddie. It was Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg was like a lowly Knicks fan, like a diehard Knicks fan, went to all the games, was up in the nosebleeds in Madison Square Garden, and then they did like this halftime competition, and the winner got to be an honorary coach. If you hit a half-court shot, you got to be the honorary coach of the Knicks for the rest of the game. Long story short, it ended up bubbling over. She became the actual head coach of the Knicks, led them in towards the playoffs. They had to play against the Spurs that had Avery Johnson and Dennis Rodman. They played against Olden Polynice and the Kings. They like the big final fight scene was Knicks against Larry Johnson. Like he was the big bad at the end for Charlotte. And like it was all real NBA players on the Knicks team that she was coaching too. She had like, they all had different names outside of the players on other teams, but like Mark Jackson, Rick Fox, John Sally, all these guys played Knicks on her team. Even like Malik Sealy was like the star, like egotistical player. Like Eddie was my joint. I always remember Olden Polynice in that one because he was like a genius at the free throw line. It was crazy.
That's crazy because I've never seen that, but like, I remember I've seen a lot of basketball movies over my day, and well, mostly my younger years because I forget what it was called, but like they had the one with Common and Queen Latifah.
Oh yeah, and, I don't remember that one either.
Yeah. The Sixth Man was dope though. Like I feel like that's a really underrated basketball movie. And when I was in high school with my first girlfriend, loving basketball because we both played hoops growing up, like that was like that meant something at that point in time too. Like that's
absolutely.
We go like I don't know, man. I feel like the wholesome sports movie has gone. Like Coach Carter was probably like our last one.
It's a good one though.
It's a good movie for sure.
You need to check out Eddie, man. Like
I need to actually.
To me, that's a classic. Like Coolio was the theme song. Like it was a '90s movie, dog. It was perfect.
Fantastic Voyage, or
actually.
Was that okay? I wasn't sure if it was gonna be that or Gangsta's Paradise. Doesn't feel like it would go for that.
It was Fantastic Voyage.
Okay, that's legit. Okay, I need to watch this movie now.
I think there's like a whole it is Fantastic Voyage, but yeah, when you get time, check out Eddie, man. I'm
gonna need to find out which streaming service that's on because I haven't seen it yet.
Whoopi Goldberg at her finest.
It's like the sister act of Hardwood.
No, dog. Like she's like a diehard New Yorker, so she's a hardcore fan. She's gonna talk mess to you. She'd call into the radio stations and just talk all the trash about her Knicks, but she knew every stat and everything. Had every jersey, would pick one for every occasion. Like she was in on the Knicks. And then they're like, well, we suck. Let's just make her the coach. She ends up turning the team around and shit.
So it's called Eddie?
Eddie, yeah.
All right. It's just EDDIE.
Yep, that's it.
All right. This needs to be in my life. I didn't realize I needed it this much, but apparently I do.
I haven't watched it in a while. I might need to go back and rewatch it too, but I'm pretty sure it withstands the test of time. Like it's a good flick.
That'll be like our book club. Like you can watch
Yeah,
it, I'll watch it, and then next time we do it, we'll do like a book report on it.
I like it. I like
All
it.
right, sounds good. Let's get to the next one because we talked about a little bit of Isaiah Thomas, like the nostalgia in this scroll is nostalgia clouds live greatness. And there's just been a lot of, for me, it feels like the old heads are just trying to like keep their self in the history of the NBA, right? And it's like you're not going anywhere, but there are also things like when you gone, you gone. Like
Exactly.
you can't go back and defend yourself on anything that you did, said, or your accolades or lack
Right.
thereof.
You're not getting
And
back on the court.
yeah, like so this whole thing started with the Shaq Wemby Ched and saying I'd make them quit. And the thing is, like, the way that I look at this is that whoever starts the conversation kind of dictates the narrative. They're the one driving the force, right? Because Shaq comes out and says it. Well, what happens if Chet and Wemby come out and say anything else? Then it's just a retaliation, and like there's nothing ever gets done. But because Shaq said it first, it just the neurons click with the old heads, and it goes, yeah, he make them quit. They'd be nothing now. It's like, but we don't want to look from the other side of they couldn't guard him. Like, so prime Shaq, like LSU Orlando Shaq, all right, he's giving them that work because he can guard them from the outside. But once he gets to like Lakers Shaq, if we're doing one-on-one and they get the ball too, good luck as well. Like, and then it went to Zeke with Braun and the shirt and the do-rag and stuff. And it's like, man, y'all, because Zeke's never been that dude.
Right.
He's always been somewhat of a supporter of Braun. And like between Shaq there and then Zeke here, what's your vibe on just where we stand now?
So with the Shaq thing, I agree to an extent, but like I have a few questions. Is this one on one? Are we playing at one basket? Are we staying in the half court? We playing right here, you versus Chet or you versus Wemby? Then absolutely Shaq is making them quit. But if you got to cross half court, you got
I'm
to
going to the
run
other
with
side.
those boys. And I would make the argument, you talk about LSU and Orlando Shaq, that wasn't prime Shaq.
It was prime athletic Shaq, but it wasn't
Sure,
prime
okay,
Shaq.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
if you
more what I
getting
meant. Yeah.
the height of Shaquille O'Neal, he's not getting up and down the court like that. He's throwing up. He will throw up all those Shaq gummies. He tries to get up and down that court like that 3 times with Chet and or Wemby. So if it's a 5-on-5 game, we're playing two sides of the court. If he catches them one time in the chest, it's over. They break. But if it's a game of basketball, then he's got to get up and down the court and run with them. So you get one miss, and Shaq's night could be over. So it just depends on how you want to look at it, really.
Yeah, this has always been my problem when we talked about this a little bit earlier with the stands of both sides of mostly like the Braun and Jordan is that you're only taking into consideration like one side of the equation. It was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
Braun couldn't stand, he couldn't last that long. You think that if Braun couldn't elbow somebody and clothesline somebody and get away with it, that he wouldn't?
Right.
Because if the rules is the rules and we going back in time, I think that he'd be all right.
Right. And Bron's not built like Jordan. Bron's built like a brick house anyway. So he'd
Yeah.
be able to take and dish out some of those hits. What is Zeke and some of them guys gonna do to LeBron in the paint? They could
I think
try.
it's just for me, it's just like it's evolving with the time though. Like this isn't something new where it's flopping for calls and trying to get calls. That's been something for the test of time, especially because like it feels like when Jordan was coming into his prime, that's when it kind of started was being able to get those calls. But because beforehand it was just either you just bounce the ball like this when you're dribbling
Right.
and you chest passing like this, and it was just all old school. And then next thing you know, there's this evolution of athlete with like Dr. J coming through. But it felt like Jordan was the guy who really started to get this complaining for calls and getting them. But with social media not being around, it was just like, oh, that's the Jordan factor. But if we're really putting into in the perspective of everybody is on an even playing field where 6'9", 245 yoked LeBron James is able to elbow Bill Laimbeer.
Right. They're the same size.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna be the same thing. It won't be like LeBron's never been one to dish it out. But if he's put in those situations, MJ was swinging. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
Bron be? So like, it's you gotta. It's that's the thing I don't like about these era blurring arguments is whose rules are we playing? Where's the 3-point line? Is it 3 seconds? Is there illegal defense? How can
Is
you
there a
guard
shot
this?
clock?
Is it Is there a 3-point line?
Are we resetting the shot clock after a miss?
Is anybody left-handed? Like, there's so many. Like,
Not even
who
left-handed. Do they know how to use it?
exactly without looking at the ball could they dribble it? Like, so there's a lot of criteria that goes into having these arguments. So they're better off just saving for 2K. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing is I've never again with this being what the show's landscape is supposed to be. It's never been anything I want to be about. Anyways, I just find it interesting that when the evolution of just people, right, is I don't want to be like my dad. My dad's the old head, and then you become the dad, and then you're the old head, and the old head is like greater than Unk, and it's just like we continuously just kick the can of society down the line, and when you have to finally be in that role, which one are you going to be? And people that are I'm not sure how old you are. I'll be 40. I'll be 41 next month. But I know
I'll be 38 Sunday.
Oh, happy birthday soon, man.
Thank you, thank you.
So yeah, it's one of those things where it's for people that are in our demographic, that late 30s, early 40s is, are you going to be the old heads that like everything was better back in my day? Or can you just appreciate what's going on now with the evolution? Because things aren't always better with what they were back in the day.
I will say it's tough because it was even hard for me. When it comes to basketball and hip hop, were two of the things where I was like, nah, old school's better. I can't mess with none of this. There's too many threes going up. Nobody's playing no defense. Everybody's mumbling. All of these things, you know what I mean? And like it took a while for me to be like, you know what? And it takes everybody this kind of, transition to be like, this is what the game is. Let's enjoy. Let's either just get with it or stop watching. You know what I mean? This is inevitably it'll rotate back. We'll get back into the big man era. We'll see all sorts of things happen in basketball, but it's an evolution. So now that I've dropped that, at least basketball wise, not as much hip hop wise, it's so much more enjoyable getting to see somebody score 40,000 points or break the 3-point record or things like that. It's to see guys my age, like Bron's 2 years older than me. I'm not going to be in that kind of shape at 40. I've been watching him since I was in high school. So to see what he's been doing, I can do nothing but appreciate because I know what it would feel like at 38 to still have to get on the court 3-4 nights a week, work on your body, do all these things. And he's doing that shit 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for 23 straight years. You know what I mean? Like it's
so ridiculous.
Crazy. It's crazy.
And I mean, yeah, and like you can appreciate but see, we were talking about this, and we'll get to this a little bit later on with the John Stockton thing. But it's like I feel like anything that happens right now with if you have the old head mentality, it is yeah, but. So it's like when it comes to Bron, okay, so he scored 40,000. He's a new leading scorer, but he played 22 years.
But he played 22 years.
But he played, yeah, exactly. But they're like, but he played 22 years, but he didn't go to high school or didn't go to college. But and it's like, yo, where do we draw the line? And that's
right. He made it out of high school.
And most like there was a time where, and that's what's wild. So like Moses Malone was the first dude to go out of high school. And then you still had the guys at the Kevin Garnett's and the Tracy McGrady's, the Jermaine O'Neal's, but they were really good for a short amount of time. Not everybody has what the work ethic is to be able to get there. And like, it is, man, it's bonkers that in over 2 decades, he's still doing what he's doing, how he's doing it. And there's still going to be, yeah, but.
Like, he's going to make an all-NBA team.
Which is
40. He's 40. They're the fourth seed in the West. He's 40. Like, I don't.
They're the third. They're the third seed, aren't they?
The 3 seed. My bad. Yeah. Like, I don't understand. Like, now we talking about him not wearing a shirt when he warms up. Like, at 40.
I want to try to give, because we talked about earlier how Isaiah's been kind of in Bron's camp for most of his career, and there's probably some underlying Jordan factors in with that, but I want to give him the benefit of the doubt of maybe he just didn't recognize how much time was left before the game started. But it's also, are you just really that desperate for the clicks and the everything else for you to still be in the limelight? Because at this point in time, it's not even just old athletes, it's people in general. It's like, what are you willing to say to just have the attention gravitate towards you? And I've never considered Zeke to be that kind of guy, but is that where he's at this point. Just trying to
You
keep
know,
his relevancy because of how underrated we largely consider him, but
I think
also
some of
it's
these
a
guys, like you talk about the Isaiah Thomas Jordan beef that we all know about, but like it seems like up until a new generation is coming in to like that's when it flips over and he starts getting protective of their generation as a whole. So maybe not of Jordan. He's not necessarily going at LeBron, but he's like, I'm a part of this generation that was this great that basically made the NBA what it is today. Y'all ain't putting in the work that we put in to get where we got, let alone to get what you have now. So he gets kind of protective over those eras. You know what I mean?
I think there's a lot of that. And one thing that I've been talking, I don't know if you and I actually ever were connected before I gave this take, but one of the things that I believe firmly in the world of sports is that um, once we're far enough removed from certain failures, we start to appreciate them more and we start to give them the flowers that they really deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Same with players, like the guys like Steph and Braun and like the true megastars, like those are the guys who get the most praise but get the most hatred. And
Absolutely.
the role players, the people who are more like us as far as like the regular average Joes, we tend to boost them up and the accolades will sometimes get skewed. So like back if you're looking at present time, Bills fan, 4 straight Super Bowls, 4 straight losses, man. That was a epic failure. But the more that we're removed, we go, well, no one's ever done it beforehand. Now we're getting their flowers. Charles Barkley is my favorite basketball player ever. He was regarded as a choker and a loser because he couldn't beat MJ. And now that he's retired for so long and we love him in the realm of TNT, it's man, Chuck was one of the greatest. And it's so funny how we can change the narrative of how we view you based on enough time being extracted from when it actually happened. And do we actually like you?
Right. Agreed. The thing with Chuck though is him specifically is there's no way we can ever forget that he never won a title because he's got two guys sitting next to him every night. They're going to tell him, "Hey, you didn't win shit." So like it's
Kenny's pretty good about it though. Shaq's the one who he's petty as hell.
if Shaq gives that little elbow to Kenny, puts that battery in his back, Chuck, you ain't got no rings, Doug. I got two. Who cares if they're Hakeem's rings? They're my rings too. You got none of them.
I
So
swear, man, he's got something like they got a smartwatch or whatever, and he's just got play the hits, Kenny, and it's you ain't got no rings. Like Shaq's is
for
doing that on the
real,
regular.
for real, it's like that thing is queued up at all times. Especially now that we're in the playoffs, we're gonna hear about that
Oh,
all the time now. So like
yeah.
we can, and I love Charles Barkley too. You talk about the Space Jam reference, like the original Space Jam was that movie. It's hard to watch now because I gotta fast forward through whole scenes because I can't listen to I Believe I Can Fly anymore. But
Understood.
but but like so I've always loved Charles Barkley and the fact that I guess I don't know, I've always looked at it differently. Who did beat Mike? Like once we got to the 90s, he was getting whooped in the 80s, but once we got to the 90s, he was hard to beat. So yeah, Chuck didn't beat him. Karl Malone and John Stockton couldn't beat him. Clyde
Clyde.
Drexler couldn't beat him. He got past the Lakers, which was kind of later in the whole Magic era in the Showtime of it all, but came back in some of those other teams. Patrick Ewing couldn't do it. Reggie Miller couldn't do it. So like, who could?
I want to do that real quick with the Knicks though. This wasn't on the docket, but do you feel like Knicks fans are just thriving for the work hard of what the 90s squad was? Because like those Knicks squads, like they weren't great. Like there was Patrick Ewing and like they had Allen Houston was obviously like he was the step up sharpshooter, but John Starks was like he was good for like 3 years, but
But
he was like he was the gritty dude, and it just feels like
yeah,
they want a New York team, but I feel bad for them, man, because like I've been told that they're fair weather fans, and like they're not, but it's also
I'm like
the nostalgia still hits you with that.
I did like that late '90s, early 2000s Knicks team though, because like you look at like Charlie Ward and Chris Childs, the
Charlie
with
Ward, man, the Florida State quarterback,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that was crazy.
And then you talk about Allen Houston, but when it was Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell, Larry Johnson, and Patrick Ewing,
Now that
like
was a squad.
even it was those Patrick Ewing knees were about done even before he went to Orlando. I think is where he ended
Yeah,
up,
he went to
but
Orlando. Man, he had those. his knees looked like they had like the biggest rolls of toilet paper size, like knee pads you can get. Like they just
Yeah.
made him in that because they were huge and bulky, man. Like,
Hakeem was the same way. Once he got to
yeah,
Toronto, Hakeem Olajuwon wasn't that guy
that's
either.
bro.
But
That one hurts my heart probably more than any is the Hakeem in Toronto.
that was hard to watch. Like Allen Iverson in Memphis.
Oof. Or
Like,
just the last 18 months of Dirk's career.
yeah.
Like he didn't change teams, but just like visually, like optically watching it.
For Dirk, it was like it was kind of gentler because you had Luca coming in. He kind of just got to sit back and be the OG, and like it was a lot softer for Dirk going out than it was for these guys that just wouldn't give up. Just like it was kind of softer for Vince Carter. He was still doing his thing around, and it was okay. You leave now, Vince. But some of these
Yeah.
guys, like look at Carmelo Anthony, they give you the straight boot. Not quite the same. So
Now it's really tough because the people who are the best at what they do, they're the last ones to know that they can't do it anymore.
hmm
And that's where legacies start to drop off. It's like I don't to cross pollinate sports, and I don't want to stick here very long, but it's like with Russell Wilson. Like people thought that he was an envy or a Hall of Fame type of quarterback. And it's just the more that you play, the more that we find your deficiencies and the more teams that you switch, like people try to talk you out of it. And sometimes like the NBA is not really that league because you can know probably by like year 6 or 7 if there's at least the trajectory for it.
I
And
mean,
then once you play yourself in, it's hard to play yourself
and
out.
now in the NBA, if you're not one of those superstars, you're really they're really only looking to keep you for 6 or 7 years. Like, look, there's not many veterans on NBA teams anymore, which is something that was keeping me from finding like really enjoying the game because it could be better just with guys with know-how, and we wouldn't deal with all this John Morant drama and all the extra Anthony Edwards stuff and all of this if they had some actual vets on the team, not guys that are still figuring it out on their own, like 6, 7 years into the league.
Well, I think it's a great segue because that was going to be something that we talked about with OKC. You're good at this, man. You a pro. Like you want to segue into my segues. It's like you stop now.
You sent me notes. I knew what we were doing.
I know. I know. I try to set people up for success, not failure. But it's also I know that my ADHD gets a hold of me, and I want to keep going instead of just like going on the next thing. But the OKC thing is a really interesting topic, and I put this out into the universe yesterday. Is that they have been the poster child of stability and patience. There's no patience in professional sports anymore. And the way that they've run these things is like most teams can't hit on these late first, late seconds free agency acquisitions the way that they have. But at some point in time, because now it's different when there's no expectations. Now there's expectations. You're the
Right.
one seed, and you've got Shea, who's now going to be the MVP, I would imagine, and Chet and Jalen, and you've got this squad. And I put out there like if they don't make at least the Western Conference Finals, does the patience plug finally get pulled? And they want to speed up the process and try to win the championship now because you can only get better for so long until you've got to get great.
Agreed.
Do you see that? Do you see them making a move? If they get bounced before the Western Conference Finals, do you think that they actually trade one of their pieces in one of their infinity billion picks for a dude,
Well,
a true
that's the
second
thing.
dude?
We talk about making a drastic move. Drastic looks a lot different to the Thunder. Like they could make a huge move, bring in a big player, and keep a lot of the roster intact. At least starter wise and some of that core. So whether they have 4 draft picks this year alone in the first round, they're
They
conditional
got
depending
4 in the
on
first this year.
4 in the first. I think it's
That's bananas.
like it's a couple of pick swaps. There's 2 like lottery protections, but they have their own pick. But overall, there's at least 4 and could turn into 5 draft picks this year in the first round. And over the next couple, I think it's up to like 18 or 20 first and second round picks. So you look at some of the young guys that aren't getting enough minutes on their bench, along with some of those picks, you can still flip that for a superstar player and move one of the guys, maybe like a Lou Dort or somebody like that, and hold on to J Dub, Shea, Chet, and the main core, and still bring a Kevin Durant or a Devin Booker in, if that's the way that it happens. Like they don't have to change a lot to get better if they don't get as far as they want.
So the thing that's always been interesting to me is that once you make one bad trade and it's like astronomically bad, how the league reacts. So it's kind of like when Mikal Bridges went to New York. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you guys give up 5 first rounders for him. And then it's, well, if the first round talent outside the top, and that's the whole thing about the NBA as well, is that now the talent is so crazy that like once they're developed,
Mm-hmm.
NBA players are like real NBA players. But like from the draft, you're not guaranteed a stud in the top 3 to 4 or 5 players, anyways. Like Aaron Gordon to me was a 4th pick overall, what, 10 plus years ago. And if you can get an Aaron Gordon type career at number 4, you kind of take it.
Yeah.
But do the first and second round picks even matter if you're not getting one of the top 2 picks anymore? So like they've accumulated all these picks, but now have those been devaluated or like devalued because there are just so many role players who can play, but only so many real needle movers now.
Well, development's even more important than it's ever been. So you got to have those kind of
Sure.
coaches that, because most of these guys don't come in ready to play. Probably should do another year or 2 in college, which we still had. And earlier you talk about Moses Malone and Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant and things like that. But at the same time, you still have Tim Duncan's and Chris Paul's and guys like that still went and did 4 years and went on to have Hall of Fame careers. So development, it has to start at a lot earlier stage. Like you almost still need college coaches on your NBA staffs to still help that transition and wait a couple of years, because you're not going to really know what you get. Look at Shea. Shea got moved in that Paul George deal. The Clippers would probably hold on to him right now.
Right.
So like it's that couple of years now. You can't just evaluate these guys right away. You got to wait 2 and 3 years to really see the beginning of what they could be.
Yeah, and that comes down to the whole patience thing that we're talking about with OKC, and do they finally get impatient? Because it's, you mentioned Shea, like even Jokic. Jokic wasn't Jokic his first
Exactly.
4 years in the league. Giannis was not anywhere close to Giannis until year 4 or 5 in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're getting these kids that's the thing that irritates me, is first round picks that get pushed off too quickly, is that one, you've only got 2 rounds. Right. So I mean, like your pool is already pretty slim anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just not going to get like the number 1 pick. Like when Andrew Wiggins was the number 1 overall pick and they claimed him to be the Canadian LeBron James, I'm like, this dude's set up for failure.
Oh yeah.
Right now. Like you can't do that. And but that's what everyone's expecting. And when you have the number 1 overall pick, they expect the number 1 overall pick to be that person. And sometimes that's just not it, which leads us to Cooper Flagg. Actually, and this is kind of on the cuff. People are talking about him going back to Duke. I don't see that happening at all.
I don't see it happening. He's ready. Like he's ready for the
He's
league.
mean.
He's ready to go. Like he had the summer against some of the Olympic guys, and like I'm one of the biggest Duke haters you can find. But that kid's ready to go. He's ready to go now. So like if he wants to go back to college, cool, whatever. His NIL, he'll cover his expenses at least. You know what I mean? So he's already got his New Balance deal and stuff like that. But he's ready for the league. He needs to go ahead and go. If that's about him not wanting to go to whoever has the top pick and shit like that, this happens every year. Like, oh, maybe I'll stay because I don't want to go there, but whatever.
But I mean, that's the thing too. Is like it's random though. Like that's the one thing about the NBA is that it's random though. But the thing for me is like when the thing that irritates me when I see people say that Cooper Flagg should go back because of NIL. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like the NIL money is for guys who maybe not get drafted and still want to stay in school. He made almost $4 million last year.
Right.
If he goes to the league, he'll make 12. It's not about NIL money. Don't do that with me.
So he made what, vet minimum last year?
Yeah. Essentially. He made NBA league vet minimum a little bit. I think he made more than that. I think the league minimum is like 2.5 or 3. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, he made more than the league minimum. And it's like, he doesn't need to go back for NIL money is for fringe second rounders that can still make $1 million or $2 million per year.
Maybe some G League guys and stuff like that, but he's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if New Balance was the right choice, but he'll be okay.
I swear to God, man, if he goes to Utah, like that's
I'm gonna let you make those jokes. I'm not gonna say nothing.
You let him make those jokes too, man. We all dude, it's Boston. He's never gonna be able to get to Boston except for like through trade or free agency.
Have you heard Vernon Maxwell talk about Utah?
Oh my God, Vernon Maxwell has been when he's on the smoke, all the smoke
Yes,
podcast. God, he's one of the best storytellers
seriously.
of hoops.
Like I
Like,
remember him too when I was younger. Like those were squads, bro.
but see, like we never got to see, like, you got to see how intense he was just because of how he played, but I never heard Vernon Maxwell talk
No,
at all
no.
until the All the Smoke podcast, and that man has. It's mostly when he's talking about Hornacek and he's like, "Honey, a dirty mother, I hate that."
When he talks about Dream smacking him, like,
Oh,
oh,
okay, okay, no, I can't do that one. I'm not gonna do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I can do impressions, but
leave,
I'm gonna stop with that one.
leave the accent, yeah. Oh man, that was too funny though. Shout out
He's
Vernon
great.
Maxwell.
I gotta say, between him and I know that Gil gets a lot of smack because like he says it how it is, and a lot of people don't agree with it because he has these, to some people's extent, outlandish takes. But I think that he makes really great points
Agreed.
about the NBA and what it really takes. Like, when it comes to these professional hoopers who are in the podcast game now, because I've never listened to Draymond ever, but I listen to, if I'm going to listen to a podcast, I want to be entertained. And especially if it has to be from somebody, if it's somebody who used to play, I want the stories. And Gil gives you stories.
Yeah, he does.
Is he, have you listened to his Gil's Arena?
Oh, yeah.
I don't watch it. I don't listen religiously, but I pick up every once in a while. Do you have a favorite former sports guy that you listen to?
Gil and like the whole crew, as well as all the smoke guys, are up there for me. I have been entertained by Pat McAfee and his guys. Those guys are doing a good job, I think, as far as being able to do it on linear television and online. Like, it's the way they've been able to blur those lines is really cool. But I'm a basketball guy first and foremost, so it's mostly all the smoke guys because they're in there for the stories. And you get those little quick
They
ones
got
from
him
Gil
for
and him all the
days.
time, but you're getting stories from everybody. Especially you get them to smoke a little bit with Sean Kemp or something like that. You getting all the stories that you didn't think you'd hear from the guys you grew up watching. So I definitely go with Matt and Jack.
That reminds me, I have a buddy of mine who's he owns a cannabis store up here, and his online name is Sean Hemp.
Nice, perfect, yeah. So you get them to burn it with some of those guys, and they really start telling stories. I've loved all of those. They're really good ones.
Yeah, they're good for sure. Let's get to the next topic. So this Phoenix Suns regime has really just effed it up. So like, I know when Matt Ishbia first took over, he traded for Kevin Durant, and there was a lot of folks say, "Hey, watch out for Phoenix. They're gonna be good." And honestly, I thought they would be good. I'm not a big fan of the instant move, meaning instant results kind of thing. So when they got Kevin Durant, I'm like, yeah, it'll be good, but maybe it'll probably take another season. And then they fire their head coach, and then they get Bradley Beal, and they fire another coach. And I've never new owner-itis is something that has been a thing through sports, whether you change your name, whether you make a big move at coaching or star player. But Ishbia just seems like he's jacking this thing up all over the place. What's your thoughts on the Suns, how they've handled everything, and do you have anybody in mind that might be their new head coach going forward? Because I vote you.
I've been saying for months now, blow it up in Philly and Phoenix. Just blow it all the way up. The coach Budenholzer firing is kind of surprising to me. They're on this, every year they fire a coach, and I saw a stat that said Devin Booker's had 8 coaches in 11 years.
8 in 11 years. Yeah.
Like, so I think you bring in a coach who's thinking more of development, because I'm looking at a blow up in Phoenix. Let Kevin Durant go where he wants to go. Let Devin Booker experience something else. Because he could be great on a lot of teams right now. He could be a missing piece in a lot of places in the NBA. They could be left with Bradley Beal, because I'm pretty sure Ishbia or the GM or somebody has a standing relationship with Bradley Beal's agent or something like that. So that's how he got the cushy deal he got, and the no trade clause is still there and all of that. So if we're thinking development, maybe look at Danny Hurley. The problem with it is they don't have a pick in the lottery. Phoenix isn't in the playoffs, the play-in, or the draft lottery.
Or the draft lottery.
So
That's God, man. They just They've foobarred the whole thing up.
Like, you messed up because even when we were trusting the process, they still had draft picks.
So let me ask you this. What if, and I'm playing devil's advocate with this one, you still keep Beal, you still keep, because Durant can still opt in, right?
Mhm.
What if you get Mike Malone on a 2-year deal? He seems to weigh thin on people quickly, but you have to get rid of Beal because I didn't realize how much of a problem Bradley Beal was in the locker room as far as like him just not giving a damn. But I've been telling people forever, like, if you've got people like Beal, I forget who commented on my page. Um, I think it was Hunter, and he said that Bradley Beal is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. And I said, well, man, like when you're putting up 30 on a bad team, the false hope is if he only had more help.
Exactly.
But some people just want to get buckets, and it feels like Bradley Beal just wants to be a talented hooper and just.
If I heard that Bradley Beal was a problem too, but I also heard that Coach Bud wanted him to play a Drew Holiday role.
Yeah, and that I posted that thing too, which I laughed at because I look at the funnier side of sports. So my thought process is like, oh, you don't want me to play winning basketball, but it's also he's not a defender. He's not
No,
a shot creator. He like that's not what his game is.
never.
You're trying to tell him to be somebody who he's not trying to be. So I was jokingly saying, "Oh, you want me to play winning basketball?" But he's never known winning basketball until he even like remotely got to Phoenix.
And what did they win? Like, didn't they get swept last year?
Nothing.
They got swept last year.
I feel like what people forget is that before Phoenix got good real quick, they were cheeks for a long time.
That's how they got Devin Booker.
Yeah. And what's wild to me too is like when Devin Booker first got drafted and people were calling him a bust. Why? Because he put up buckets, but the Suns weren't winning. And I can't stand that kind of Neanderthal sports take of like, oh, well, how great really are you? Well, again, we just talked about you got to get 6-7 years in the league before you're technically your prime. But you could like the eyeball test tells you who's good. I knew Devin Booker was good 1.5 years in the league. And it wasn't until he got better players and coaching where the team got better. But to say that he was a bust to me is just, man, look at your.
And he was stuck with DeAndre Ayton. So, like, what can you really judge him on? He's gonna sink all ships. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they need to let Devin Booker have a chance to go be somebody elsewhere. Like, it's 8 coaches in 11 years. It already feels like you're getting traded anyway. Like, you're already learning new systems every year, new players every year. So why not change it all?
And that kind of brings me to a point of like, we haven't really brought this up so far, but if he were to demand a trade, I feel like you would not be upset with that because you seem like you put 8-9 years into this, 11 years actually. You put 11 years into the squad, and they have done nothing to support you. They have actively played defense against your greatness. But if he goes someplace and wins, this is the argument and the dumb, kind of goat that we talk about is, oh, well, you had to leave to win elsewhere. Why? If I would have never won anything, y'all would have said I was nothing like the Barclays and whatever of the world. They're in a lose-lose situation. That's why I hate these sports debate narratives.
Exactly. Like, look at what's happening in Phoenix. We don't have to look at all 11 years. Look at the last 3. Like,
that's a great point. You ain't got to do the entire archive.
Exactly.
We can look at this snippet.
Right. Devin Booker's still top 2, 3 shooting guard in the league. By all accounts, still a top 2 in the league behind maybe Ant. Depends on where you put some of these other guys, but he's top 2 or 3.
Because like their position can be kind of goofy, right?
Yeah,
because it's like Harden is a shooting guard, but he's a primary point guard, and I'm back. Right. Not that I would put him in that category now because of age and stuff, but I see what you're saying though.
He's been a primary player on the Olympic squads. Has proven that he can do what's necessary to win. Doesn't have to be the guy all the time. Prove that with the Olympics, so he's a good character guy. Like, give him a shot now. You keep messing it up in Phoenix. That's ownership. You can pass some of the buck to coaching if you want to, but Devin Booker's been there. He's been through all of this, the ups and downs. They bring in Chris Paul. They have DeAndre Ayton. They move all of those guys, bring in these guys. You still get 8 different coaches. Devin Booker's done his job correctly, if you ask me. why not give him a chance to now enjoy the fruits of his labor?
See, and that's where these things get difficult because the Playbook podcast is built specifically for see it through everybody's perspective, look at the course of history and what's happened and what's going to move forward. The Phoenix Suns, by a fan's perspective, yeah, you should do him right. Get him out of there. Put him in a like. You don't have to trade him to L.A.
Right.
Like you don't have to do what the
Understand
Mavs
that.
do. Like you ain't got to do that. But put him in his position where he can still play in a good spot with that he's not in a tanking squad. But the ownership is like, nah, man, our job is to get the best deal.
Right.
And I totally understand that too. But as far as from Phoenix's, which asset do you think actually makes the most sense to move? Because Bradley Beal is the one that you care the least about, but you'll get the least in return.
He's
Kevin
also the
Durant,
one that's going to be the hardest to move.
right, exactly. And then you've got KD, who's older, injury prone, still a bucket. But then you've got Booker. Like, and if you trade Booker, you're not going to have the same pushback that Dallas gave for Luka, but it's going to be relatively similar. But you better get a haul back if you're going to move that dude.
Well, because they're not going to move him like they move Luka in the dead of night. Open up the doors to everybody for the bidding on Devin Booker. And I don't think it's an either or situation. I don't think Bradley Beal goes anywhere. So let KD and Devin Booker go. Just blow it up.
I'm good with that. I know a lot of fans don't like hearing that as far as just blowing things up, but you have to understand where you are in the landscape of where you are in, like, because this is only conference based as far as playoffs are concerned. And the West has always been this way. It's always been there's going to be multiple 50 win teams, high 40 win teams. There's going to be a lot of those. So if you're that far off, the other thing, like with the long play, is the Lakers are going to be this forever. The Golden State certainly isn't going to be this way forever. Denver isn't going to be this way forever. Like, go ahead and tank, blow the whole thing up, be really bad for 2 years, and then Phoenix, maybe if you hit everything right, you can be back into that play-in tournament. But I'm with you. Like, fans don't like hearing about tanking, but it's the only option I think that Phoenix actually has to be able to be relevant in the next 2 to 3 years, the bare minimum.
And like when I was younger, I used to be all about loyalty and sticking with one team and wishing guys would finish their careers in one spot. And it'd be a
Sure.
surprise when you see a blockbuster trade. You know what I mean? Like it was shocking. But that's just not the landscape of the league anymore. Players aren't staying in one spot. Coaches aren't staying in one spot. Teams are changing yearly. So it's hard for me to just be like a fan of one team anymore and stick with my team because my team's going to look different. And that's my biggest problem with the college game. And I haven't looked at college basketball in years now because you're not going to recognize that roster in 4 more months. That's why the women's game is taking over, because they have a chance to become a team and meld and grow. And you get these women in the WNBA making an impact immediately because they played 4 years. They played for the same coach. For the most part, there's NIL stuff and the transfer portal now is changing a lot of things. But for the most part, you still get to develop in college. So with all the movement and lack of development in the NBA, it's hard to just be like, stick with this team, stay with this team, get better with this team, because nobody else is doing that. So you got to move the way the league moves.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And that's one of the issues that we've ran into. We've talked about it a little bit on this show, is the whole NIL stuff. And I feel like it's good for the game because it's taken a lot of, and just real quick before we move on, because we don't need to do another 20-minute segment on this, but it does feel like NIL has helped because all the factories for professional sports aren't getting all the factory players anymore. So you're seeing a little bit more parity. And if you're promised something, you can dip out really easily, as opposed to having to wait for another year or lose a year of eligibility, and you're not holding the players at different standards as the coaches. And those are all fine and good. So I think it's good for the parity overall. But like you said, as far as getting there a real connection with your teammates and sticking around for at least 2 full years, you're really not seeing that anymore. And I don't want to sound like the old head, but I'm kind of okay with the capitalistic market of it. But it's also, there's got to be some rules and regulations put in place soon, because the NCAA was living off of free labor forever. They had no plan for this. And it sounds like they have no plan to, because what they don't want to do is they don't want to make these guys employees, these men and women. You don't want to have the label as employee, because that opens up a whole nother Pandora's box of insurance and everything else that comes along with it, which obviously the NCAA doesn't want anything to do with either.
Agreed. And that's the same thing with the NBA nowadays. Is just that forever changing landscape is just, it's unreasonable to think one guy's just going to stay there. Like Devin Booker, for example. just stay in one spot and make it happen, because everybody else is changing and evolving and bringing in new people and sending out old pieces every day. So it's, why not Devin Booker?
Well, I mean, and that's the thing too, is like when you sign these long-term deals, one, obviously the money with the supermaxes matter because you get more money if you stay with the team that drafted you. Like that's part of the equation.
Right.
But it's also, you sign that going in with the intention that the people who do their jobs, bringing in more talent, making a better roster, are going to do their job. And if they're not doing theirs, you're like, well, man, what am I even here for? Because at the end of the day, my legacy is going to be impact more than yours as the owner, because we're not going to think about you as an owner that way. Coaches, we're probably going to. GMs, we're not. Coaches and players, we're going to grade you fairly or unfairly based off of the resume. And if I'm signing a contract with good faith that you are going to do your job and you don't, and you're only playing to keep your job and not make my team better, I got no problem with them moving. But that's the problem. That's the business side of this that a lot of folks don't want to have that conversation about.
And a lot of people don't stay at jobs they hate. So like, why don't we think that same way when it comes to athletes? Like, that could be a terrible work environment.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to stay in that. Go play somewhere else. You can go, like I'm a bartender. I can go bartend somewhere else if the environment's not conducive. Why wouldn't anybody else think that way?
Well, and that's always been, I didn't really think about this way until the last couple of years when I started hearing it more, but it is a real concept of people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses. They quit management more than anything else. Like I'm in a job now in the car business is not a, there's not a whole lot of self-care, right? It is, what have you done for me lately? If you haven't done anything now, like you can be out relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that I have the best boss I've ever worked for, period, in that industry is wild to me. I haven't had to leave bosses. I never wanted to get back into the car business because of what the business usually is. But where I do it, how I do it, and who I do it for, I would never quit that job because I love what I do and where I do it. But if you're even professional athletes, man, if you get tired of your boss and either they're lying to you about the roster construction or everything else in between, yeah, man, you're not going to get your best from me every day.
Exactly.
I agree with you 100%. We got two more topics on the docket. Do you want to go to Stephen A. Smith for president or John Stockton's assist record potentially getting broken?
John Stockton's, I don't like. Let's talk about the assist record.
All right. So I was scrolling through my socials yesterday and I saw that. So Trae Young currently through 5 seasons has about 4,700 assists. And in John Stockton's first 5 seasons, he had about 42. So Stockton also played for 19 years.
Trae Young's in 7 seasons.
Has he?
Mm-hmm. Drafted. You got to think same year as Luka.
Yeah, wasn't that 2020?
No, this is their 7th year or 7th year. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, this is their 7th year in the league. This might change your opinion.
It might. Did I get fooled by the internet?
I think so. I did some math.
Did my old ass get fooled by the internet?
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure Trae Young's in his 7th. This is his 7th year.
What I saw, man, that's gonna feel really bad if that's the case. Because what I saw through my socials, what it gave me a stat from 2020 to 2025 in a 5-year gap. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go look that up real quick. I may be wrong.
Let's see. Hold on.
Because I know Luka's got 5 first-time All-NBAs. And you know what? Maybe that was beforehand. Oh, that was
2018.
That was. Damn, then all my numbers were wrong then.
Well, you might
all my numbers were wrong.
Okay, so
I did the first because the photo that was brought to me was 2020 to 2025 for Trae Young's. Dang, my old ass got again.
So what I ended up doing some math and all of this, and for Trae Young to catch where John Stockton is, this being year 7 for him, and John Stockton playing 19 years in the league, if Trae Young was to stay on this pace for 14 more years, and you mentioned that John Stockton played 19, that would put him into his 21st season. He would still be over 1,600 short of John Stockton.
Really?
So I'm going to say no.
Damn. Yeah, man. I saw the timeline that they gave because it was 2020 to 2025. And it went from every year it gone up. It was like 9.2 to 9.6 to 10.2, so on and so forth until he got to his 11 and a half per season or 11 and a half per game this season. And I thought, man, he's right there. He's got 4,700 assists right now through 5 years. Now I'm going to have to go back and, well, then what do you have beforehand then?
So he was
the 18 and 19 season.
Let's see.
If you still got it up, I ain't trying to like just hijack all your time, but
we're good. Hold on.
That's wild to me, man. Because I didn't realize that they've already been. See, this is the other thing too, man. Time gets ahead of you.
So
Trae Young's in his 7 seasons already.
Yeah, he was averaging 8 assists his rookie year.
All right, so he had. I just want to do this real quick. So he had at the end of the 2025 season, he had 4,700 ish assists. So what do you have in 2018 for assists?
8.1.
So he, as far as
that
like
was the 18-19 season.
Does that give you the total amount of assists that he had?
Not on this one. This is annoying.
Because I was going to say if there's an 82 game season, he averaged 8.1. He probably had like 700 assists then.
That was about 653.
653, and then in the 2019-2020 season,
he had 560.
560. Okay, so that puts him at 5,930. These are rough numbers, but basically 5,900 through 7 seasons.
No, we're at 47-48 through 7.
No, the 47-48 was through 5 seasons.
No, that gives him that's the total. I'm looking at it right here. That's the total through all 7.
Oh, then I really got bamboozled. Yeah, because I went through.
So yeah, you would have had him way ahead with those 2 years.
Yeah. Okay, then all right. The internet got me again. Congratulations, internet. You feel good about fooling an old man? Or I could just take accountability and say I didn't do my research like I was supposed to, but I don't want to do that.
So honestly, when you posed that question to me, I was like, I never even had thought about it. I was like, well, damn, Trae Young must be close. So then I started deep diving. And I looked at his 7th season where he was at, and then I just doubled the 47-48, and that would give do that for 14 years, and that still only put him at like 14-2.
Yeah, that was
15-8.
That was my bad because when I saw the original post, I thought they were doing it for 5 years because I thought he's only been in the league for 5 years. Dude, 7 years already for him because him and Luka were in the same draft.
They were traded for each other.
Crazy. Damn. So no, I don't think he does. With the information that was originally brought in front of me, I thought he had a chance because I thought if he had 4,700 through 5 seasons,
absolutely.
I'm looking at it as like he played 19. He's only 5 years into his career. Like that could legitimately happen. And now that I know that was through 7, that probably ain't gonna happen no more.
Yeah. I mean, to his credit though, he has gone up every year as far as assists per game. But still, it's going to be it's an uphill battle. John Stockton's records are going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, I need to help myself. I need to do some self-care with this rebound. So it was had he had done it, would you have been mad because of pace of play and shooting? Because I'm trying to rebrand myself right now because I feel stupid for not doing it. I thought I did the right research and I didn't.
Well, as a kid, I couldn't stand the Utah Jazz, so I would love to see John Stockton's records be broken. But something about me can't stay Trae Young now, so I wouldn't want it to be Trae Young. So luckily for me, he looks like he's gonna fall a little short.
Is there anybody who you would? Is there any record now, like that we actually carry some kind of value towards? That you think that could be broken? Because we never thought the scoring title could be broken, and then LeBron could still keep playing next year even if he wanted to. But is there any one that you're like, you know what? Is it AC Green's abstinence?
Or that's never going to be broken. That's never going to be broken. Not in today's NBA with TikTok. No, never that. That'll never happen. I don't know if it will be broken, but I'd love to see Scott Skiles' assists in a game get broken.
Where's he at? 25, 26?
30.
Was it 30? That was the Orlando game? Okay.
I want to see that. But I don't know who it would be, like Chris Paul or somebody, or maybe Luka. Luka might be able to do something like that. But that was something I think would be really cool to see.
I think that, and it's odd enough, but I think that if you were to make, like, so I play MLB The Show quite a bit now.
Mhm.
Like I go through my phases. If you put a dynamic challenge for Jokic to get 30 assists in a game, 31, if you gave him the right shooters because Jamal Murray isn't available all the time and Michael Porter Jr. is too streaky, I feel like if you gave a dynamic challenge to Jokic, he could give you 31.
If you had that championship team and like say you're playing it on like a 2K or something like that, and everybody's firing, because it still takes a lot. Because even with Scott Skiles, you had to have Nick Anderson and all those guys doing their thing too. It wasn't just Shaq. A lot of it was Shaq, but not all of it. But so like if they would have like KCP still and all those guys, Bruce Brown off the bench still firing and hitting things, like I could see something like that. But like you said, MPJ's too streaky and he'll probably be gone after this year. Jamal Murray got to be on the court. So like Joker, Luca, maybe if they played together.
No, because then one be making too many shots to get to 30. Because that's the thing too, is like you got to figure they're going to take 30 shots a piece. Well, Luca, he's more of the volume shooter. Jokic, I feel like he's okay with taking.
Joker would be cool with 0 points, 32 assists, and a win.
Oh, of course,
guaranteed.
Yo, he be making fun of it too. He'd be like, "Oh, you think I'm going to?" No, I think that he would absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, I'm gonna shoot this one finally. Nope, not this.
No,
I can see that.
I could absolutely see him just trolling and say, because like it was like Larry Bird said that one time, I'm gonna play left-handed,
right?
And he put up like 40, put a 40 burger up on him. I feel like Jokic has that kind of pettiness in him.
So many Joker pump fakes that game, it would be ridiculous. But I'm here for it though. I'd love to watch that. It'd be cool.
I'll tell you what. Before we get out of here, I've already hijacked you for a little over an hour of your time. Is there? And I want you to go ahead and replug everything before we actually do get out. Is there a certain storyline or a certain series because I know we still got the play-in, but is there a certain series that's already etched in stone or a storyline that you're more intrigued by than others?
As far as what we know for first round matchups, I'd say the one I'm most intrigued with is Nuggets Clippers. This is kind of the other side of that mountaintop for the Nuggets, and the Clippers are firing on all cylinders right now with a healthy Kawhi going into the playoffs. Zubac's having the best year of his career. Same with Norm Powell. Harden's playing great ball. Their biggest weakness is probably Ben Simmons, but that's everybody's biggest weakness. And
he's been everybody's biggest weakness.
He's my biggest weakness. Is so like, and I just want to see like, it's gonna take Joker willing them to a win in this series. I think it probably goes 7, but I think this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and we see a different Denver lineup. They already got rid of Calvin Booth and Mike Malone, so I'm just really interested to see which way that series goes, because I don't want to wish it on anybody, but we could see a Kawhi injury change an entire series. We've seen it happen before. It's just I want to see that. And if the Warriors do get out of the play-in this first round and match up with the Rockets, I also want to see that.
That'll be fun. Anthony says as well, he thinks that Jokic would be his guess for breaking the single season or the single game assist record. Yeah. He thinks that they would like that. That to me does feel like the guy who is most willing to pass all the time, just because it feels like he's that dude. I'm with you. I think that Minnesota LA is going to be the more interesting series, but the Denver and Clippers one does strike me as interesting as well, mostly because like when you get that firing of the head coach, because I'm still waiting on what happened to Taylor Jenkins in Memphis, man. They have not said anything, and I thought that he must have done something super nefarious behind the scenes to get let go. And
he probably put in a metal detector.
Oh, John was beeping off every time he came into practice.
Right at the locker room. That's probably what happened. No, we can go ahead this. We can go ahead this. Get him out of here.
Stop calling me Gilder and Crittensen. We not these guys.
Oh shoot.
Oh man. That's funny because I was waiting forever to see what actually happened with Taylor Jenkins, and then with Mike Malone, it was something where you don't usually fire a head coach a year and a half to 2 years after you won a title. But the way that he speaks in press conferences, man, like this is the way that I've always approached this when you get it. But he's also been there for 10 years. So, I mean, it's not like he's new to the squad, but like I've always subscribed to the rule of if you're a new GM or a new coach, however you, whatever you say in your initial press conference, that better be what you're about. If it's best player available, we're going to play them. Or if we're trying to make our roster better, everyone's up for trade. If you say this is my guy, you better stand behind it. But Mike Malone has just been more of like a complainer about how Jokic is basically the second coming of Jesus and how they're underappreciated and he's underappreciated. It just felt like he lived under that rock for so long.
Yeah.
It was just super abrasive. I understand the firing of that, but does that make Jamal Murray's hamstring feel better now that Mike Malone's gone? Is that going to make Michael Porter Jr. shoot better? But you're right. And again, like with the playbook, it's something like, what has history told us? James Harden is at some point in time probably going to shit the bed, and Kawhi is probably going to get injured. And again, you don't want those things to happen, but we're deep enough into both these guys' career where you should be expecting at least one of the two, if not both.
Right. Exactly. And the other thing, like before the playoffs that I'm looking for is a lot of people were talking about the better route for the Warriors, whether it was getting that 6th seed and playing the Lakers in the first round or going through 7th and facing the Rockets, because that may be a better matchup for them.
Mm-hmm.
What if the Warriors lose? Because the Grizzlies can beat them. The Mavericks and the
They are
Kings
capable,
can beat them. What if the Warriors just don't make the playoffs? What if it just doesn't happen? With the Draymond guarantee, with Jimmy Butler III coming over, with all of this, what if they just don't make the playoffs and we see the Grizzlies and the Kings or the Mavericks in 7 and 8?
Dude, that would be bonkers. And I do. So we talked quite a bit about legacy on here at certain points in times. What's that going to do now with Steph if you can't beat the Grizzlies? Because now we're doing, well, you still have Draymond, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And that's the thing. He wasn't in the mix until the last like 3 weeks. And then he's fallen off. And you've gotten Jimmy Butler and your record post the trade for Jimmy. But is it going to move the needle? I think should it? I think yes. Is it? I think no. I think it's going to be a very low talking point because there's two heavy hitters in this whole GOAT debate, man. And everything that anybody else does is just pick your flavor. Like exactly. You like the guy well enough, but they're not polarizing enough to really get on to the next level of irritants. And Steph's like, he's just a likable dude. He looks like you and me. We're not robots like Braun.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's another thing I'm really curious. The Eastern Conference, though, it kind of seems like a 2-horse race. So we'll see what happens with the Cavs and the Celtics. But
do you see? So, and I'll let you go after this. Who are your Western Conference Finals and Eastern Conference Finals? Or at least one of the two. You got any surprises?
Oh man. I think if there's going to be a surprise, it's going to be in the Western Conference. So I see Cleveland and Boston in the conference finals in the East. I don't know in the West. It looks like the Thunder are going to make it there at least, but as far as, and on the other side with the Warriors, they could very well make it to the finals in the same token as them missing the playoffs altogether, because they're 0-3 in these play-in scenarios, but Jimmy Butler's been to the finals as a play-in before, and that's a whole new.
They've got the 5th best odds to win the title, and they may not even make the playoffs.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That side is not talked about at all, is what if they miss out completely. But, I mean, as far as, the Lakers, I don't know.
OKC's in a weird spot too, man, because like their team is crazy deep, but once the playoffs happen, you don't usually do a 9-10 man rotation. You're shortening it up to 7 or 8. So do they stick with that? And I think an underrated part of coaching in the NBA is being able to steal minutes. Are they going to be able to steal minutes for SGA, for Chet, for Jay Will, and like just give them a couple extra minutes of blow every once in a while and still stick with the 9 or 10 rotation? Or are they going to choke up, shorten the rotation, and then go to traditional playoff basketball? I would watch game 1 and 2 specifically to see how they're going to play. Because if they go 9-10 deep and it works, they're going to keep refreshing it, I think.
I think they're at least going to try it because, that, as you say, like typically you shorten the rosters this time of year, but that's not what works for them. What works for them is gassing you out and running 9-10 deep. So, like,
yep.
we don't see it work in the playoffs, and we see the pace slow down. But maybe they're the ones to speed it up.
Might be. Well, tell you what, man, go ahead and give the guys your bona fides one more time, the links. And if we can't get to it right now, you can throw it in the chat afterwards and make sure that everybody knows where to find you and how to find you.
You can find me on all social medias at @inmy_bag 2023. That is myself and the brand In My Bag Apparel. You can find the show Recognized Game on YouTube by Jim Mint 10 Sports. You can find us under their channel there, as well as my website for the brand, which is inmybag.bigcartel.com, to find all the latest things on the brand, things we got going on at In My Bag Apparel. Shout out Bullies, Cuts, and Styles in the Denver, Colorado area as well.
I'll tell you what, man, that has been Evan Thunder Bradfield. You guys know the drill. Stay up, stay blessed. I appreciate you. Tell Mac I said hi today. I appreciate the plug all the time as well. And if you guys ever find a way to be able to have them cyber interviews,
yeah, we got to do that.
Where to find your boy. All right, man. That has been Evan Bradfield. Thank you so much for your time. You guys know the drill. Stay up, stay blessed. We will catch you guys on the next one.